Hi, I'm Marie. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make some joy.
American meatloaf for Veterans Day. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos like these to give you some joy, please click on the subscribe and the bell to receive notification of my newest videos. Thank you.
So for meatloaf, what we're going to need is we need 2 pounds of meat. So we could use ground beef or ground pork mixed together. So here I've got 1 pound of each. You could use ground turkey if you'd rather. You could use both beef. Really, it's up to you. And again, I like to use about 85% lean ground beef. 90 is just a little too, anything over 90 is just a little too low in the fat, doesn't give enough flavor, and anything 80 and lower actually is going to be a little too fatty. So we've got a ground beef. We need our oatmeal. So this is quick rolled oats. I like to use organic. I like to know where my stuff comes from and is fed. So I do like to use organic. Also, salt and pepper for seasoning. Worcestershire sauce. We'll add that to that as well. We need 1 small onion, okay? Just so you can see the difference in sizes. This is a large onion, so I'd use half of that. But in this case, I've got a pretty small onion, so that's what I'm going to use. And then an egg, of course, and milk. That's the base for the meatloaf. The sauce is actually going to consist of mustard, ketchup. We also have a little bit of nutmeg for some savory, and we'll have brown sugar as well.
So I like to start with the sauce first, getting it ready, because I'm going to use it as a glaze. I'm going to show you how to make a meatloaf that actually you get the nice crunchy pieces off of, and it doesn't have all that grease. You know, when you do it in like a loaf pan or something, it's like kind of a pain because it gets all that grease and watery, and I don't like that. And so I found a way that actually this works really, really well. I have to give ATK credit, America's Test Kitchen. They showed how to do this. So I'm going to start with a cup of ketchup. And I've actually doubled the glaze. My husband absolutely loves this. So what we'll do is we'll glaze it on the meatloaf, and they'll have some extra sauce left over because my husband he loves this sauce so much. So you can cut this in half if you don't want as much sauce. So I'm starting with a cup of ketchup. Then I'm going to take about 1/4 a cup of mustard. Ooh, got liquid. Sorry about that. Let's shake that mustard up, get that liquid out. All right. Oh, that's much better. Here we go. Ooh. A little tough there. Mustard doesn't want to work now. We're going to get them out. There we go. A little tough spot there. All right. 1/4 a cup of mustard is what we're going to put in next. It's going to help give it like a little tangy, kind of cut back on the sweetness a little bit. I use a spatula so I can get everything out. I want every little bit in here. Not to mention, if I have one with a silicone base, which this is, it's a KitchenAid. My husband got it off of Amazon. I love it. You could use Wilton. Wilton's another really good brand. Just make sure they're silicone based, and if you do, you can use them. They work up to 500 degrees, so you can use them within your stove equipment. So, you know, for a pan, stir fry, whatever. If you've got stuff that has a lot of items on the bottom of your pan, a spatula, of course, is wonderful for getting all that stuff off of there. So we've got our ketchup and our mustard. Next thing I'm going to add is going to be the brown sugar. So with the brown sugar, this is going to be about 1/4 a cup. So 1/4 a cup is about 4 tablespoons is what I'm going to be putting in here of brown sugar. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is definitely going to give a little sweetness to it, a little bit of molasses flavor. That's what's really nice about this too. It'll give it a little molasses flavor. I like dark brown sugar. You can use light, you can use dark. Either one will work for this recipe. The last thing I'm going to add, and I don't change this, is 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. Even though I double my recipe, I really don't go over on the nutmeg. Again, it adds a little bit of savory, but a little goes a long way. So like I said, I'm only going to add about a teaspoon of nutmeg to this, and that's it. And that should definitely give it its savory flavor. If you don't like nutmeg, no problem. You can take it out. You can cut it back. Just don't go over 1 teaspoon is what I'm saying. But definitely you can cut it if you don't like it. If you don't like this sauce, no worries. You can always go with a barbecue. If you like tomato, you know, tomato sauce, you don't want a sweet, you can always just glaze it with a tomato sauce that you get from a jar, a can, or your homemade. It's really up to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the stove, heat this up for a little bit, then turn it off, and it's going to really come together. It's going to thin the sauce out, so that way when I'm ready to actually glaze the meatloaf, this will be ready to go. So that's why I like to start with the sauce. So I'm going to take care of that, and then we'll look at how we put the meatloaf together. So we've added our 2 pounds of ground beef, or 1 pound of pork, 1 pound of ground beef. I had that broken up in the bottom. And then I added my onion, diced onion on top. So I'm just gonna mix that together. Make sure that onions throughout. I'm just gonna give a little mix for that. Perfect. You don't want to overmix your meat, so I just want to kind of mix it up, get the onions in there. That's great. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. You always want to have clean hands when you're cooking, so always wash your hands after touching any kind of meat product. Okay, so what we're going to add to this is 3/4 cup of oatmeal. These again are the quick rolled oats. These are organic. I'm going to add 1 cup of milk. I'm also going to add 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire, however you like to say that. I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of this. This really adds a lot of umami to the meatloaf, honestly. So add that in there. Perfect. And I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of table salt. In this recipe, I end up using just the regular salt, not the kosher. Sprinkle that all over. And I want 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. In this case, I just use a ground, not the grinder. My husband's not really partial to pepper, so in this case, he can't really taste it. So, but it adds a little seasoning. So if you're missing pepper, you can taste it. But if you add the pepper with everything else, you can't taste it. And then we're going to add 1 egg. Again, I already mixed this up beforehand to break it up and add it into the meatloaf. This is quite a wet mixture, so I'm going to definitely use a fork or something to kind of help my hands a little bit here. Otherwise, I would dig my hands in here too, you know. But again, you don't want to over mix. You want to just get it all combined together. This recipe for the meatloaf is actually given to my mom by Janet Ashcroft. She is the wife of the former governor of Missouri, John Ashcroft. His son right now is the Secretary of State, I believe. So they used to be our neighbors when we lived in Jeff City. And so she actually gave the recipe to my mom. I'll be honest, I've tried everywhere to find this online. I can't find it anywhere. So you're getting firsthand at this recipe right now if you're watching this video. So, which I always love to share. I love to share recipes. I love to share experiences. It's just kind of fun. It's fun to tell you guys what's kind of going on. And, you know, how this relates. Why this is so, why I have such a passion for this. Why I enjoy this so much. It brings back memories when I was a kid or, you know, working with my mom in the kitchen. I always enjoyed that. So, I've got all of my stuff, my mixture mixed together here. So I'm going to go now And I'm gonna head over to the oven and I'm gonna put this in my pan. I'm gonna show you how the prep work was for my pan, and then I will show you how I actually put this on the pan so that we make like a cake, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So we have those nice crispy edges that everybody always loves, and it's gonna make a nice large meatloaf that honestly this stuff freezes really great even after cooking. So you can freeze it before or you can freeze it after. I've done that, I've frozen it. Also makes leftovers. So for those working moms, hey, I'm a working mom. I work full time. So this is for fun. So definitely, you know, makes leftovers. And meatloaf is one of those things that tastes better a little bit the next day. So it's always good. So over at the oven, I've already set up my tray. Again, I like to use heavy duty foil. So I've set up my tray with heavy duty foil and covered that. I have one of those little baking trays. Sorry, I'm not saying the right lingo for it. But basically it's gonna hold the meatloaf and allow the air to come around it. So the way it bakes very nicely, crisps up. And to help save on the mess, what I've done is I've taken parchment and I have folded it in to the measurement I wanted. This is actually 10 by 12, so that you know. You can do whatever size you like, but I'll give you some tips on how you're gonna make this meatloaf for that, like I said, that cake look is what you're looking for. So I folded up my parchment. This is kind of my design. This is where I know I want my meatloaf to fit right in here. That's what I want. I want the meatloaf to fit. I've also got my oven set. It's going to be for 350 degrees on bake. So I'm going to take care of that. The sauce has changed. If you look at the color since I heated it up, it's more smooth, it's nice and thinned out, it's not as thick, and it has a deeper, richer color. And I always taste it before I put it on just to make sure, and this tastes fantastic. So it is going to be ready to glaze on the meatloaf once I have that all set up. So to set up my meatloaf like a cake, okay, clean hands. I'm going to just start with a little bit in the center. Like I said, I'm going to use this parchment as a way to use as a guide. So that way I know exactly where I want my meatloaf placed. Not to mention this grease is going to just fall off of this parchment. So it's not going to be as greasy. Like I said, remember, it's those old casseroles that you put them in the tins and stuff, and you get all that water, liquid, and grease. It's like, ugh. It doesn't get all nice and browned. It's not all nice and crispy, and that's what we're doing. We want those nice crispy edges. So again, I'm going to use this. I'm making a nice rectangular shape. I'm just eyeballing, okay? I'm not going to be an exact scientist here. I know people are like, well, you look at these other TV shows and they're just exact. Now, hey, again, you know, we're working moms. We're going to do what we can do so our family has a nice healthy meal at the same time. I'm not going to be an exact scientist on this either. I'm going to eyeball a lot of stuff here to help myself on my time. Got too much to do, right? You got to clean, you got to cook, you got the kids to take care of. Hey, I'm trying to help you out and show you a nice way for cleanup, nice enjoyable meal that you can enjoy at home with your family or with you and your kids, or you can have it by yourself. You can enjoy this alone and have the leftovers for later. So anybody can have a meatloaf. You could even, if you wanted to, you could do this in like muffin cups or make them in small like dollops. You could do that. You can make meatloaf balls if you wanted to, if you're single. That way you don't have to worry about how much you have to eat, or, oh gosh, I've got this big loaf. No worries, no worries. It's whatever works for you. So in this case, what I did, I shaped it into a rectangle. Like I said, use a parchment as my guide. Didn't go totally to the edges, but pretty close. And so that grease is going to fall off, and it's going to go into the tray. And if you look, it's about up to about the top of my finger, okay? This is probably about an inch, inch and a half up is what you're probably looking at. See, I put my finger in there. There you go. Now you can see it went up to my first knuckle on my finger. So see, you can eyeball, use your fingers to help you out, use your hands to help you out. The only thing, remember to wash your hands in between. Okay, so the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna top our meatloaf with the glaze. Now, I'm gonna take about a ramekin. This is about a cup, by the way. So I'm taking out about a cup of the glaze. The reason why is, of course, like I said, I want to have some extra sauce. My husband loves the extra sauce to put on his meatloaf. And the thing is that once you actually touch the meat with that sauce, it's contaminated. Again, that's raw meat. So you don't want the rest of that sauce being contaminated. So, you know, again, got to think about safety for your family as well here. So we're now going to take the glaze and we're just going to put it on top of our meatloaf. You can use a brush, you can use a spatula. I mean, there are lots of tools, but if you don't have those tools, it's no big deal. You can use the back of a spoon. You can pour this on if you want. I don't want it too thick, so that's why I am taking my spatula to spread it. Again, this is meant to be a glaze, so I want to get it all over top, sides, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to brush it all over this meatloaf before it goes in the oven. So the meatloaf has been glazed all over the sides, the top, trying to make it as even as possible around the whole meatloaf, so every little bit has some glaze. So I'm going to put it in the lower rack. You can go mid to the lower level of the rack in the oven, and we're going to cook this for about 1 hour and see where we're at. Again, it's that raw meat, so I want to make sure to take its temperature. I want to make sure it gets between 160 to 165 degrees because it is ground meat, to make sure that is completely cooked. So again, it's going in a 350 degree oven for about 1 hour. All right, so it's been about an hour. I want to check my temperature of my meatloaf, make sure that it's correct. So again, I'm going to pull out my handy dandy javelin pin, and we're going to check and make sure. Again, I said 160. That's what I'm looking for. Hey, look at that. I'm going to stick it as far as I can, and we're at 169. That's awesome. That means that this is safe for anybody to eat. I'm going to try a couple different places just to make sure, so I get to that center area. It's better from the side than straight in. Perfect, 170. So I don't have to worry about this. This is safe for my family. But I'll say this, my family likes a little bit more crispy. So I'm going to go ahead, put this under the broiler, watch it, and once it is brown enough for myself, I'm going to pull it out and I'll show you that. So after broiling this for a few minutes, I did turn it to make sure that everything got a little bit of browning on it. It's okay. These little black spots, no problem. They're not burned, okay? So don't be worried about that. But this is going to be nice and crispy. It's nice and sticky on the edges. It's that perfect consistency that everybody wants. So everybody can have a nice piece that's not so overloaded with juice and whatnot, but I can guarantee you this is a nice moist meatloaf. Again, I've got some extra sauce on the side for my husband because he always wants extra sauce, and we'll have this with some mashed potatoes. We got green beans in the microwave right now. See, a nice easy meal for our family. So remember to make some joy and enjoy your day and enjoy your meal. Thank you.